What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Triple H podcast. Happy Hour Hoops. Post Thanksgiving. Hope everyone had a good turkey day. But we are back to talk NBA. Steve, Jake, Dunny here as always. What's going on, guys? We were just talking. We got a full NBA slate tonight. News and notes to get to. And talk about a whole bunch of shit. I feel like the NBA has shifted wildly in that the past week we took off for Thanksgiving.
Naturally.
What do you guys think?
A lot's happened in the past 2 weeks. I mean, we've seen a couple players that we didn't really think were going to have big roles step up shoes these past couple of weeks. There's been a giant injury bug that's hit the NBA, unfortunately, and it continued the past couple nights as well. It's been unfortunate. And then last night, Dunny, I was treated to the Stevie NBA Finals between the Warriors and the Mavs.
Oh my God,
Luka and Curry trading buckets. Luka with a 40-point triple-double. I mean, that was the perfect way to come back into a Triple H podcast, is to watch that game, be able to talk about that a little bit. I'm sure you're going to be excited to talk about your Celtics, who I looked it up, Dunny. Right now, they have the best offensive rating of all time. Not the best offensive rating this year of all time. So I'm sure you're excited. And as you know, Rob Williams getting close as well.
Yeah,
so we got a lot to talk about today. We got a lot. Some bad, with the injuries, but a lot of good topics to discuss.
Yeah. Let's jump in the news and notes. You kind of started us off there. Warriors Mavs last night was incredible. You mentioned the Luka triple-double. I actually saw in a press conference afterwards, Jason Kidd said he was a little bored of Luka's triple-doubles. He wanted to see him do something else because it's just a regular for him now, which is – it's crazy. I saw Luka has 5 40-point triple-doubles already this season, and the rest of the NBA only has one.
He's been insane. His numbers are crazy. He's finally starting to shoot the three ball a little bit better. And what's hilarious, I came from start to finish. And I believe it was the third quarter, the commentators, like midway through the third quarter, they're like, oh, by the way, he was at the line. They're like, by the way, Luka's putting up the quietest 32, 10, and 8 line right now. And I was like, he has 32, 10, and 8? It's like third quarter, 6 minutes to go. And he's gotten to that point where he's putting up such ridiculous numbers with ease that we're not even noticing it. Where I'm like, oh yeah, Luka, like the first half, I'm like, yeah, Luka played an all right first half, and I checked the box score, and I think he had 19, 8 rebounds and 5 assists, and it's just like it's become an every night occurrence for him. And I hope the Mavs can build a better roster around him. It's neither here nor there. They took, I guess, a step in the right direction, getting Kemba, right? I think that should help a little bit.
If he can play,
we'll see. At least they're trying to get new pieces around him. Well, you look at the numbers right now. What Luka's been doing has just been absurd. He's finally starting to shoot the ball a lot better. As you look at the threes, the three-pointing percentage started at 20%, the first, I think, 10 games this year. He's getting closer to the 40% range, is where you want to be for Luka.
Yeah, look at those last 5 games. 38.
These are video game numbers. These are video game numbers. 34, 9, and 9, essentially. Oh man!
Something else last night too is the 4 steals. I know Luka gets a bad rep for his defense, which I think rightfully so. But let's not talk about on ball defense and getting blown by occasionally as all of defending, because it's the same reason Luka's so good under the basket, making passes. He just has a great knack for the basketball. He is such an underrated off-ball defender. I think 2 of his 4 steals were on inbounds plays that the ball wasn't going to the person he was defending, and he just swooped in and got his hand in the passing lane. That's an underrated form of defense, and a very good form of defense that a lot of players can't really perfect. And it seems like just this year he's increased in that role a lot. So the 4 steals were kind of the cherry on top last night for me. You said the improved 3-point shooting. I agree. That's got to be there if he wants to stay in this MVP race and keep the Mavs where they're at. But the defense too is something I didn't think he had as much of, and he's clearly showing it now. So I think he's still going to get attacked and maybe singled out when you have a guy like Steph or a guy like Durant or just someone that can attack and drive by him. I think that will continue to happen, but he's at least putting up the numbers there too, which is something that really the only negative people have had on him in the past.
Yeah. I mean, the steals have been very encouraging. I think he's averaging 1.8 steals a game, which is huge for him. Almost averaged 2 steals a game. And you brought it up, Dunny. It's all been kind of off ball, just getting in the passing lanes. He just has such a great awareness of where everyone is on the court at all times. He's finally starting to play a little more aggressive, take chances on the defensive end of the court, and he is getting these steals. And what I will say is he's not a great on-ball defender, but he's been a lot more physical down low, both offensively and defensively. Yeah. And that's, I think, been one of the biggest improvements in his game that not a lot of people are going to talk about, right? Because anyone can read a box score and be like, oh, Luka's putting up these jaw-dropping numbers night in, night out, which he is. And I'm not taking that away from him. But from my side of it, I think what Luka's really improved on is both how he's kind of offensively and defensively became more physical down low. He's getting a lot more and ones. He's getting a lot more, when a smaller defender's on him, just getting his body into him, getting easy looks. And then on the defensive side, he's not letting people back him down right now. You can still kind of blow by Luka from time to time, but he's been a lot better defensively as well down low. And that's really what the Mavericks need. If you have a generational talent superstar like him, the offense is always going to be there. But I think, to your point, Dunny, it's been great to see an improvement with the steals. He is getting those numbers with the steals, but his defense overall, I think, has improved leaps and bounds from last year. And that's a very, very encouraging sign.
Yeah. And I know we brought up Kemba here, and it's kind of like, I feel like it's something like you kind of laugh off, especially because on the broadcast, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to Kemba, but on the broadcast last night, Stan Van was like, so I don't know if this is an exact quote, but something along the lines of they need a third scorer. I think it was like Luka, Christian Wood, maybe he said was the second guy, which is crazy that's basically their second fiddle right now.
Start him.
Yeah.
They should start Christian Wood.
And then he was like, can Kemba be that third guy? No, I think all three of us will realize pretty quickly that Kemba won't be their third scoring option, or at least we hope, unless he has this huge resurgence. But I think Kemba can be a good addition to this team. I was just wondering your guys' thought on that. I know we have it in the news and notes here too. Like, I don't think he can play at the level Jalen Brunson did, but similar players, I guess, like score first, smaller guards who can tend to play a little bigger than they are on the offensive end with little defensive help. I don't know. I could see him at least, having a role on this team, and they could definitely use a scoring burst off the bench. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Kemba is, I want him to be kind of almost like a poor man's Jalen Brunson, right? Where he's a smaller guard, but he can create his own shot, and he's not afraid to drive into the lane. I don't really know what to expect from Kemba, but I'm hoping that that's something that at least, even if he doesn't do that, but maybe someone who can run the offense for a little bit, let Luka play off ball a little bit. Take some of that usage, take some of that volume off Luka Doncic, because at the end of the game, we've seen this, I think, 80% of the games this year, where when Luka's having crazy games, teams are just going to double him in the fourth quarter if he's taking the ball up the floor. And the Mavs have, with Dinwiddie a little bit, experimented with having Luka coming off some off-ball screens to get him the ball that way, or to try to, mismatches on smaller defenders. And I think Kemba could be someone, and like I said, I don't really know what his role is going to be, but I think he could be someone who they'll have confidence taking the ball up the court, running the offense, and that way they can, strategize, make plays to get Luka open off the ball, to get him, out of those double teams. That's really what I'm hoping from Kemba. I don't think Kemba's going to put up the numbers Brunson did last year or even close to that, but just maybe take a little bit of the stress off Luka.
Stress off Luka, maybe even stress off Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie's been doing everything as the second guard for them. Just anything that, if he can offer any bit of scoring and shooting and stay healthy, 15 minutes, I think that's a win for the Mavs, because they just need they need any additional scoring, I think, on this roster. It's hard avenues to try to find it. This is a good way, and I think this is a great locker room move regardless. He's going to be a great guy to kind of galvanize that locker room and just be a leader in there, and just a guy that's been through a lot, been through the league, been around.
Cuban was definitely won over by his smile.
Oh yeah.
I feel like
how long do you think Cuban? I bet you Cubans
guy.
wanted Kemba for like 7 years. Like they probably had free agent meetings, calls, and just never worked out. He's like, I'm getting this guy in here. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah. I really think the biggest thing, we don't have to spend too much time on Kemba because, he's such a huge question mark still. But just knocking down the 3-ball. And I think, Jake, that's kind of what you were getting at. Just like coming in, be able to score. You don't have to do it for long periods of time or stretches off the bench. But if he can knock down the 3, because they showed a graphic at the beginning of the game, their shooters being Bertans, Kleba, Tim Hardaway, I think and maybe even Dinwiddie as well. All their 3-point numbers are down from last year.
Ola too. He can't hit anything. It's been and that's the thing, Donnie. I think that's part of the reason why they got Kemba is the Mavs. What have we said has been like the downfall of the Mavs, or why we just can't trust them, is because it's Luka surrounded by inconsistent shooters.
Yeah,
and that's what they've been.
Smith,
yeah. So I don't know.
So we'll see. We'll see with Kemba and the Mavs. I kind of root for the player just because I didn't mind his time in Boston. Obviously, it wasn't the right fit. But I mean, it's cardiac Kemba. I think everyone at one point of his NBA career, whether when he was at UConn, you grew to like the guy, you grew to like the player. We'll see. We'll see. I'm sure if anyone can make a guy around them better, it's probably Luka. So he might fit in. The bad news, Steve Kahn touched on it, a bunch of injuries. Biggest one since our last show, Karl-Anthony Towns. It looks like it was going to be a lot worse. I mean, the non-contact lower leg injury, he kind of tightened up, fell over. But he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks for the already struggling, chemistry-issued Timberwolves.
They're done, bro. Put a stake.
You're done with them already?
I'm done with them for the next 7 years. I'm never touching them again. They literally made the worst trade in NBA history, and they are paying for it now. Have fun. Yeah. I feel so bad for Anthony Edwards for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Get better, Cat. That's the most important thing. Hope he gets better. Hope he heals well.
Yeah.
But Anthony Edwards is going to hate Rudy Gobert after this next month. Like just those two being the main guys. It's not good. Not good.
How about what was the quote Anthony Edwards said? Like if we're gonna play big, we have to play big or something like that.
Is he calling him soft?
This was like a game or two before Cat's injury. He was like, if we're gonna play with like this too big rotation, like we have to play tough. Because like I think the stats in that game, I hope not wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure they had like just got beat up on the boards and like points in the paint, and then Anthony Edwards said that, and then this injury happened a few days later. I don't know, man. Like the T-Wolves look like a bit of a disaster. I think everyone, along with Gobert just being overrated, and I will die on that hill. I think he's a great defender.
I think we all will, right?
Yeah.
I think
he rebounds at a crazy rate. And then, like, those are just the things that are surface level. Everyone knows. Like, he's a good big man. No one's denying that. But it's when you give up so much to get a guy who hasn't improved your team. I mean, they look worse than they did last year right now. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah.
Gobert's an offensive liability. We said this when they were in Utah.
And sometimes defensive, as crazy as that sounds. If they can spread the court, it's like we've seen it a lot of times already. And well, maybe it will improve a little, or they can figure out how to use him with Cat being out. But
and maybe that's chemistry they need to build, like with maybe it's something that's necessary.
Edwards and Gobert get a little closer.
Yeah. Maybe it's good for them.
Yeah,
maybe.
Who knows? And D'Lo has been horrible, which D'Lo truthers that's tough.
Well, now
I like D'Angelo Russell too.
With Cat out, D'Lo's going to take 20, 25 shots a night.
Yeah. And Anthony Edwards should be shooting. The problem was probably that they didn't invest more into Ant before this trade and just kind of went that route. But now I think this injury allows them to at least play through him and see where that goes.
Yeah, I'm with that.
And then last bit of news here, some encouraging. The other side of injury, 2 two all-star guards returning to the lineup in the Eastern Conference. Chris Middleton could debut as early as Friday this week. We're currently recording this on Wednesday. And James Harden could be back Monday, which I'm sure Joel Embiid and every Philly fan would love to hear that. So positive on the flip side of injury things.
Yeah, that's good. I'm
will
really
say,
excited to see. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say for Philly, I know they want Harden back. You got to give DeAnthony Melton and Shake Milton credit for what they've done to help Philly with no Tyrese Maxey or James Harden. You lose both those guys, and Embiid's still kind of playing every other day. It feels like he's trying to get fully healthy. And Milton have both been balling for the 76ers. So I will give them credit there. But, I mean, obviously, it's tough to lose a guy like Harden, so they'll be happy to have him back. But Milton, at least Milton has proved he deserves a role on this team going forward.
Yeah. No, both
Shake
those
Milton
guys
always just comes in and balls out, I feel like he's done this so many times with injuries. He just comes in and he's like, oh yeah, I could put up 28 in an NBA game. Like nothing. Like, what are we doing here? And I'm really excited though to see Chris Middleton back with the Bucks, because the Bucks have been awesome to watch, and we know that they're missing their second best player. Like it's been since against your Boston Celtics in that series. Like, I know that everybody, I think that's the biggest what if of last season, is what if Chris Middleton was healthy the whole playoffs, and now seeing him back, if he gets healthy, what can that team actually look like full strength again? Are they the best team in the league? Is it still the Celtics? Is it somebody else coming up? I think that it obviously helps the case. This is a older Bucks team that needs that as much help as they can get, because they don't have the depth that they've had the last year. So very interested to see what Chris Middleton looks like back on the floor. Happy to see him back.
Yeah, for sure. The Bucks could be scary, man. I mean, they've obviously had some guys step up. But like we haven't seen like full force Middleton in quite a while. I think Giannis has probably even taken another step since we've really seen them two play together at a high level, which is scary. So we may even seen a newer version of Bucks basketball. But that's a pretty good segue into our power rankings, the Triple H Happy Hour Hoops power rankings. Jake, you just mentioned two of the teams we have in the top three there: the Boston Celtics, Phoenix Suns, Milwaukee Bucks. Cavs, Jake, still there, even with the injury issues. And then the Pelicans, who we all kind of co-signed to start the year and realized that they can be something special. Honorable mention, of course, Meerkats, Denver Nuggets, and the Memphis Grizzlies.
Is it, of course, Steve?
Celtics at 1? Yeah.
No, the Nuggets. The Nuggets is who I was talking about.
The Nuggets? I mean, I don't know if the Nuggets would be honorable mention for me right now. I think the Nuggets are a little flawed, and I know I was high on them in the offseason, and I had their over and their win total. I just don't think they're a top 5 team right now. That's the only reason. I know we had a little discussion about this earlier, and that was my only thing. The Nuggets, for the most part, I know they'll set Murray out a little bit. They'll set Michael Porter out a little bit. Aaron Gordon can have some good games, and Jokic is Jokic, obviously. But my thing to the Nuggets is I look at a team like the Pelicans, I look at a team like the Grizzlies that has dealt with injuries, but guys are stepping up despite those injuries. With the Pelicans, I mean, to be 12-8, I know we were all high on the Pelicans this year, but to be 12-8 with Zion missing a good chunk of games, with Ingram missing a good chunk of games, with McCollum missing some games, and having guys like Trey Murphy and Herb Jones step up, having, a guy like, who was it, Larry Nance off the bench or whatnot would have a couple big games. I mean, the Pelicans to be 12-8 with the injuries they've kind of dealt with has been really surprising, really encouraging. And then the Grizzlies too. We talked about it with Jaren Jackson. They didn't have him at the start of the year. I think he's only played the last 6 games. I think he's had 4 straight games over 20 points, 3+ blocks in each of those games. They lose Desmond Bane because, of course, at the same time that they get Jaren Jackson back, but they're still winning games too. So that was my only complaint, where I was like, I don't think the Nuggets are a top 5 team. But outside of that, with, I guess, the debate on the 5 spot between Pelicans, Nuggets, Grizzlies, whatever other team you want to put up there, I don't think you can really debate. You can maybe debate the order, but I don't think you can debate the top 4 teams in the NBA right now. I think it's pretty clear cut. The 4 we have there: Celtics. You got the Cavs in there. You have the Suns there, and then you got the Milwaukee Bucks. And the Suns, another team too. Haven't had Chris Paul, but campaign stepped up in a big way. The Bucks, we just talked about it. Haven't had Middleton. Drew Holiday's been banged up, but they're still the Milwaukee Bucks. And then you got, and I'll let Donnie take this, but then you got the Boston Celtics, who are just beating the shit out of everyone right now. It has been probably a joy for Donnie to watch, but it is, in my mind, it's Celtics 1, and then there's a gap, and then there's the next 3 teams.
Oh, it's beautiful, man. It's truly something else. Before I go, I don't even know how much I'm going to go off on about the Celtics, but I do want to ask you that because I was wondering if it was going to come up on the show. We talk about the Bucks not having Middleton right now, the Celtics not having Robert Williams, and I know the Suns are missing a few guys. Do you guys? And I'm not saying that this is necessarily how I think or this is true. But do you guys think that the Suns missing Chris Paul is as big of a drop-off or as big as a deal as, say, the Celtics missing Robert Williams or the Bucks missing Chris Middleton? Because I think Campaign's been doing a pretty great job. And honestly, I think CP's assist numbers would be up a little bit. I think he's averaging just over 5 right now, but he's averaging 13 and 5. I think CP's numbers at this age, at this stage of his career, and the last we saw of him in the playoffs wasn't all that great. I would argue his numbers would be pretty similar.
We don't know what we're gonna get from old CP. We haven't seen it for an extended stretch this year. So I think that's a big unknown, and Booker has just been in even whether CP comes back, whatever he comes back as. I don't think it matters, honestly, though, to the success of this team, because I think Booker is that good now. I think that he can be the engine behind a team that is, number 1 in the West, probably going to be the favorite coming out of the West when we get to playoff time. That whole deal, I think it's be squarely on it. Like, they've built a great team around him. Don't get me wrong. They still have the Jay Crowder piece. He's going to get moved for something, and they'll get a decent return, I would imagine, for that. So this team is not what the finished product's going to be. Any Suns game I've watched, I've just come away being like, damn, like Booker, I don't know if it's like another leap he's making or if it's just the continued consistency of the output that he does every night and just how much he does offensively for them. Yeah. But he's just one of those guys. Like, he's one of the guys in the league that you can put on the floor and be like, okay, we're a title contender. And that's crazy that we've gotten to this. It's not that crazy, I guess, but I think we are at that point.
Yeah. I know we were all kind of down on the Suns a little bit, and they kind of proved us wrong already. And I know Booker has been incredible, but Mikal Bridges too has really stepped up. He's really stepped up this year. He's improved nasty, bro. By leaps and bounds. I know we knew he was a good defender. We knew he could shoot a little bit, kind of a 3-and-D guy. But this year he's doing everything. He's getting boards. He's getting assists. He's been one of the best, if not the best defender in the NBA right now. And he's turned into kind of a secondary scoring option for this Suns team. And I really never saw that out of Mikal Bridges. So he's been a huge help for them this year to kind of, overcome the Chris Paul injury. But yeah, Campaign has kind of filled his shoes pretty easily. And you're right, Jake. I mean, Booker he's a walking bucket at this point.
Dude, Mikal Bridges is kind of redefining the 3-and-D guy in the NBA right now. Like, he's his own version of that. I just looked. He's shooting 54% from 3 at home. That is ridiculous. Like, if you pair that with Devin Booker, the Suns will not lose at home very much this season, guys. On top of that, in their last 10, he's averaging nearly 2 steals. And Steve, you just mentioned he's probably the best on-ball defender in the NBA. Definitely top 3. I mean, I guess we got to give our flowers to Mikal too if we're gonna give the Suns props here. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, and just smart of them. I mean, maybe not because it was kind of messed up their season last year, but matching the offer for Ayton and just like, no, you're gonna stick it out here for the next couple years, and
he hasn't been bad
in this window. And he's been decent. He's doing what he needs to do offensively. I don't think he's ever gonna be a go-to
16 and 11.
Yeah, like that's what he's their defensive anchor compared, and next to Mikal, he helps him out so much in his role too, as we're talking about. So they've done a great job building that team out. It's very interesting to see what the Crowder piece is, and just like there's just some weird chemistry stuff, but they're still winning games. So what can you say?
Yeah, man. The Suns look really good.
Jake, you want to talk about your Cavs? They've been pretty good this year.
Hey, man, I wouldn't have put them in this top 5, to be honest. I think so you guys putting them in there was a very nice thing of you to do for me. I think I would have put them right on the outside. They fall apart with no Jared Allen. I mean, Jared Allen's not going to play tonight. We'll see what happens. They should beat up on Philly. I still think they should beat Philly, but not going to play tonight. This team is just not deep. They got no three. They have no wings. It was the biggest worry I had all year long. We're switching between guys. Isaac Okoro, he gave a drive the other night against Toronto that it was the worst drive I've ever seen an NBA player make. Like, first of all, he shouldn't have even made the drive to the basket. He had a wide open 3. They swung it all the way around. Mitchell passes up his shot, passes to Okoro, wide open. He's like, nah, I'm going to take it in. Easy layup to go. He was on the right side. Easy layup to go to the right side. Tries to like draw contact, throws his whole body into this dude. It is like, looks like some kind of angle that way, and then like doesn't even hit the rim on the layup and falls down. And I'm like, you are the worst. It's just so bad. And he's starting. Like, he's getting starting minutes. They can't trust Lamar Stevens because he can't play offense. Dean Wade gets bullied. LeVert is a whole other story. I know he went off against your Celtics, Dunny. That if he didn't have that game, his stats would be horrific this year. I shit you not.
Man.
He's been a mess offensively. So they need to figure out that position. And I don't know what that's going to do later on in the year, but they also have 4 guys who can match up with any 4 guys in the league. So it's a weird thing.
Yeah, man. I've thought this about Karis LeVert for a while. Like, he loves cooking the Celtics. He loves to have these huge, monstrous games, and then he'll go quiet for a while too, which it sucks because it can add to like how good your team can look when a guy like him is on, and then you're like, okay, wait, where's the scoring tonight when, like, say Donovan Mitchell's on the bench or like Garland's having an off shooting night, whatever the case may be. LeVert is one of those guys you're like, if you could just play a smidge more consistently, like that would make, that would mean the world to the squad. So yeah, that's really. And I watched the Cavs more closely towards the beginning of this year when they're fully healthy. But even when they're healthy, that's really the only thing that you can point to with your guys' squad. It's like just that secondary level of scoring where you'd want to know night to night, like more specifically where it's coming from.
It's an adventure, man. It's sometimes it's like I said, this is the Chetty Osman experience. Like nights looks like the best shooter in the league. Some nights literally will hit the side of the backboard
getting memed to death. Yeah.
And that's like what all the set of role players are. Yeah. So it is the biggest hole. And I don't know what they're going to do. Bill Simmons mused about a Caruso trade if the Bulls blow it up. Cleveland being interested in there. Would love that. But he also mentioned the Warriors looking at a guy like him. I don't think, and if it gets to a bidding war with any team, I don't think they can do that. But that's the exact kind of piece they need next to Mitchell and Garland, because they just need somebody who is just going to be able to take on those number 1 responsibilities on any wing defender. Because it's really weird. Like, every game you're going to see a new person, basically. Like against the Celtics, it'll probably be Lamar Stevens or somebody like that who's bigger. Tonight, I don't know who's going to be starting tonight. It's probably going to be a Okoro. There's no Allen tonight. So the other night, last game, they went with Mobley, Garland, Okoro, Dean Wade, and who am I missing? Mitchell. And it's like that lineup defensively just terrifies me, just absolutely terrifies. And this is another big thing too, is that needs to develop over the next couple of years. Mobley is not great at the 5, and Mobley without Jared Allen on the floor the offensive rating goes down and the defensive rating goes up. Both bad things. Bad things happen when Mobley is not on the floor without Jared Allen. That's something that he's going to need to work on, filling in and getting into that build a little bit, or just being more of a force himself offensively. If you go to Cavs Reddit, it's all about Mobley. It's literally
it's probably just the confidence thing. When you have a guy like that behind you and you're playing the 4 and like you can, help with the interior, but you're not the mainstay in protecting the paint. Like that's just probably so much more confidence for him. He's like, okay, I can play free and block shots when I please.
I even think the whole team, like Jared Allen is just he's
an anchor on offense,
he's the second, third best defensive center in the league, maybe. Like Gobert, Giannis, I think I'd put ahead of him, and then he's probably right there. And then offensively, he's a force. Like he could go 25 and 20 in a game and you wouldn't be surprised. The lob threat, like the vertical spacing that they get just from having Allen on the floor, especially running up and down with Garland and Mitchell just want to throw the ball to Jared Allen on lobs all day long. Like that's all they're looking for. And even to Mobley too, like this team, I don't know if that's a stat, probably is somewhere, but the Cavs have to be super high in the league on oops and lobs right now this year, because it's a huge part of their offense is the vertical spacing. And when they take that guy, I mean, that's what I was talking to my friends about it today. Like if Allen's not on the floor, it's literally a team of 3 all-stars and a number 3 pick, and then a bunch of, role players and everything else. If you take out an all-star, what do you think's going to happen? They're not. Of course, they're not going to be the same team. It's just the construction of the roster at this point, and you got to kind of live with it.
Yep. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Who else haven't we talked about here in the power ranks? Pelicans. I mean, we kind of touched on like it's just been incredible, man.
They might be the best team in the West. I might take back my son's topic because
damn, bro. Steve talks about it like there's been times where they're missing Ingram, McCollum, Ingram, and Zion, and then they're still winning games.
And they still win. It's crazy what they're doing.
How about Jose Alvarado, man?
Alvarado.
I didn't think he was going to have staying power. I thought it would be like, it was a nice story in the playoffs last year, and he'll be back to like 7-2 or something.
Yeah, right.
And no, he's going to be a role player in this league forever. Like
Trey Murphy. This guy,
where the fuck did he come from?
This guy could win 6th man of the year the way he's been playing. Trey Murphy. It's like, McCollum's out. Murphy's like, all right, I'll just get 8 assists tonight. They're like, Ingram's out. Murphy's like, all right, I'll just score 25. They're like, Zion's out. He's like, all right, I'll just get 12 boards off the bench. Like whatever you need Murphy to do, he's been doing. And then I know we love this guy. He's a darling. But Herb Jones defensively he'll shut anyone down.
Playing the game last night, taking a charge on SGA, which first everybody knew SGA was going to drive the ball in that situation, but still, he's the guy in that spot to make that play.
If he was in the league when I was in high school, Herb Jones would have been my favorite player without a doubt. Is just like those are the types of players I was drawn to when I still played, and I was like, he is just everything that I liked in the game of basketball. Herb Jones is put into one.
Yep.
His defense is just awesome, man. Like it's incredible, really.
He's the perfect type of teammate, right? Because it's not like he's afraid to shoot, but he'll only shoot wide open looks. He'll take good looks. It's not like he won't shoot them. He will, and he can shoot. He can drive if he needs to, but he knows that's not his role on this team. He knows what his role is. He's like, I'm just going to be a workhorse defender, and he's just going to stretch the floor in the offense. And Herb Jones is, he's not a flashy draft pick. He's not a guy who's ever going to, fill a box score with the type of numbers people are going to go wild on. But he's someone who can absolutely average around 10, 12 points, get a handful of boards, have a few assists, and then multiple blocks and steals every game. And outside of that, with the box scores, he's going to shoot an efficient rate. And what they're not going to show in the box score is what he's going to hold his defenders to that he's guarding. Herb Jones is one of the most physical and best on-ball defenders in the NBA, and he's in his 2nd year in the NBA. He's like 22 years old. Like it's like the Pelicans are just getting home runs with these guys right now.
Against Shea last night or the other night, Herb Jones defense. Shea was 2 for 9, 22%, 0 for 3 3-pointers, 4 forced turnovers, 3 block shots.
Incredible.
That's against a guy who is lighting up literally everybody in the league.
Yeah, and we talked about how Mikal Bridges is like kind of this new wave of 3-and-D players. Yeah. Herb Jones is like the epitome of like the old school 3-and-D guys, definitely. But just like more athletic.
Yes.
Like he reminds me, and this isn't a discredit to Herb Jones. I think he's slightly better and will probably have a better career just because what we've seen so far. Like you said, it's his first 2 years. But Herb Jones reminds me a lot of young Trevor Ariza, like Rockets, Lakers days. He'll hit the open shot, but he's not dying if he's not taking them. He's not demanding that he gets shots in the offense, but he'll knock down the open three. I think he's a lot more athletic than Ariza, and he's a better on-ball defender. But like just as far as playing style, length, like just kind of does everything right. He's a team guy, like you said, Steve. He's just fun to watch, and a lot of teams and a lot of good teams like dive to have guys like this on their roster.
Yeah.
And he's kind of just like an afterthought, but he's the real deal.
Yeah, he's like an unsung hero, right? No one's going to watch a Pelicans game where Zion drops 35 and be like, talk about Herb Jones after the game. He's not going to have the post-game interviews. He's not going to have the flashiness. But what Herb Jones does is he just helps out everyone around him. Herb Jones is someone who can just be in the paint, and you kick it to a corner three of a guy who thinks he's wide open, and within half a second, Herb Jones and his gigantic wingspan is there putting a hand in your face, making that a contested shot. I mean, he just makes it so much easier for the players around him. And this is why I was saying that the Pelicans had to be in our top 5, is because we haven't really seen, outside maybe 1 or 2 games, this team at full strength, right? With everyone healthy, everyone good to go. And when we do, that could be electric, because I don't really see a starting 5. There may be a couple in the NBA that matches up with this starting 5 right now. It is ridiculous, the just amount of versatility they have, as well as just options both offensively and defensively. Because we talk about Herb Jones' defense, Zion Williamson is a fantastic defender too.
Yep. Yeah. That's a great point, what you just made, because that was going to be what I jumped in on to finish off with the Pelicans, is that they can literally play any game they want. They can play, they can run up and down the floor with you. They can play, you want to shoot threes all night and play high transition? Sure, we'll do that. You want to play a bully ball game? Fine. We'll just throw it low to Valanciunas and Zion and go to the line all game. And let Ingram, solid. Larry Nance is a great defender inside and a great 3-point shooter threat too. Like, they have guys that are just not even just the team, all the guys are multiple too. Like, they're going to be really fun to see, especially when it comes around playoff time, what kind of matchups and stuff that they try to exploit and everything.
Yeah, do you guys let's get into the rest of the topics here.
Yes, sir.
We're just going to go down, talk about the Utah Jazz, Lakers, couple struggling teams, and then some players that we've had our eye on, and maybe the national media attention isn't all the way on them or as much as they should be. But let's start with the Utah Jazz. They come back down to earth. It's kind of crazy. I think we double fooled ourselves, because after the first week we were like, all right, they could easily, fall down the rankings. And then 2 or 3 weeks in, they're like, okay, they're still at the top of the West. What's going on? A week ago, the Utah Jazz were the 1 seed in the Western Conference. As of yesterday, they were 9th. I believe that's still the case.
Yes.
Today. So yeah, I mean, kind of fizzled out, right? We thought this might happen with the Jazz. Still super impressive what they're doing. Lauri Markkanen is on God mode right now. But yeah, where are you guys at with the Jazz? I mean, kind of to be expected as far as my opinion on it. But they might also be in full Wembanyama mode, because let's not forget Danny Ainge is their president of basketball operations. Yeah. He loves the draft. He loves prospects. What do you guys think?
They're definitely sneaking into Wemby mode. Go ahead, Steve.
I think it's kind of almost a perfect situation for the Jazz here, where they've had these players that are potential trade targets that have played really well to start the year and got them noticed, right? Because they started off hot. Now they are losing a little bit. They've lost 5 straight. They're kind of slowly falling out of the playoff race. But guess what, man? Someone's going to want Jordan Clarkson. Someone's going to pay for Jordan Clarkson the way he's been playing. We talk about Lauri Markkanen. I don't know if the Jazz would trade him. I don't know if someone would pay as much as the Jazz
Honestly,
would.
they really should.
This is the perfect opportunity to sell high on Lauri. Jake knows. Jake knows.
They really
should. The perfect opportunity to sell high on Lauri. You got a guy like Mike Conley as well, too. I mean, the Jazz are kind of in that situation where they can do what they want, right? They were overachieving at the start of the year, like you said, Dunny. Everyone was balling out, playing well. Honestly, Malik Beasley and Colin Sexton playing pretty good off the bench, too. Sexton's kind of stepped in as the starter with Conley out for a little bit. And now you're right around 500. You've lost 5 straight. You're probably not going to win anything this year. You look at your roster, it's not that talented. A lot of guys are playing well. But if you really want to just go for it, now's the perfect time. Because you've been noticed. The NBA has noticed the Jazz from the way they started, and they've noticed the type of play that guys like Lauri and Clarkson have been putting up this year. So I would not be shocked in the slightest. They're not going to do like a middling thing here, right? They're either going to just stick with the roster they got, or they're going to blow the whole thing up. And I'm rooting for option B just because I'd love to see where everyone goes. I love chaos, and I love the trade. Yeah. I want to see trades all over the place, and I think Utah could definitely be one of the top, teams to potentially blow it up if they keep on losing.
Here's the thing, though. Maybe they're like, we don't need to blow it up. The Timberwolves are already blowing up enough. We'll just take that pick and pick Wemby.
That's true.
It's out the rest of the year. Edwards is like, fuck this guy, and just starts phasing out Gobert. Like, they're really set up so well to do that.
That's a good point. Ainge is definitely monitoring that Minnesota situation closer than we think.
Oh, yeah.
Has to be. That's a really good point.
And are they a team that later in the year, in the summer, like if they have 2 of those high picks and they have these guys, maybe they keep them around and they're like, okay, we're actually just going to pick Wembanyama and then trade for Zach LaVine or something like that. Yeah. And just okay, now I have 2 building blocks and Colin Sexton. Let's go. Like let's ride into the future.
That's very
I feel like that's something. There's so many options that they can do.
And it's not like when we talk the trade route with them, it's not just one guy. I mean, we've already mentioned 2-3 guys here that they legitimately could trade and that have not only high value, but there's a market for these guys. Like there's a demand for a Mike Conley. There's a demand for a Jordan Clarkson. And obviously I don't have no idea what you can even value Lauri at right now. But if you're me and you just saw Gobert go for however many firsts he did over the summer, I would have much rather spent those on a guy like Lauri when it comes down to it. Obviously, I wouldn't, and I don't think any sane person should, but Rudy shouldn't have gone for those. So, like, if we're putting this into perspective, what the hell is Lauri Markkanen's trade value right now? It's through the roof.
Lauri's averaging 22 and 8 this year. He's shooting 53% from the floor, 39% from 3, 81% from the line. I mean, and it's the way he's been playing too. If you watch these games, Lauri is I did not expect to see this the way we've seen Lauri the past couple of years. He's attacking this year, exactly, Jake. He's attacking. He's getting his own shot. He'll pull up on you. He doesn't care. He's driving into the lane, and it's. When the Jazz need a bucket, and I can't believe I'm saying this, when the Jazz need the bucket, they're like, all right, let's run the offense through Lauri Markkanen and Jordan Clarkson. Lauri is a guy they're looking to run the offense through when they need a bucket. It's crazy what he's been doing this year.
Well, you must, at some point, it must be, and I don't know, I shouldn't say it must be, but, you would imagine Will Hardy must have just, whether it's at the very beginning of the season or, at some point, at the start of the season, he was probably just to these guys, like the Malik Beasleys, the Colin Sextons, the Lauri Markkanens, Clarkson, whoever. He's probably look, guys, we have a unique situation. None of us were together, at the end of last year. We're all kind of here. We're all pretty good basketball players here. Just go play free. Go try to win games together, and we'll deal with the results.
And also, maybe Will Hardy is just the boy genius that everybody has told us that he is too.
Yeah.
That could be part of it.
He's a really good coach.
Can we talk about the Lakers and how sad they are?
Yeah, it's funny. We tried to talk about the Jazz there in a negative, and it ended up just all being positive. So
because we knew what we were coming into, bro. I've told you how many times, guys. I try to watch as many Laker games as I can because I try to appreciate my LeBron James games as little as I can. But it's been increasingly hard for me to watch these Laker games this year for obvious reasons. But I stayed up I fell asleep like the middle of the third quarter, but watched most of the first half against the Pacers the other day. And it was just so sad, man. Like just watching that team, like being like, is this really an NBA team out on the floor together? Oh, it is actually an NBA team on the floor. Oh my gosh. And don't get me wrong, AD has looked incredible.
He's been great this year.
Yeah.
There's just nothing else, man. There's just nothing else. And you put here the body language, it's pretty bad.
Body language is bad.
Bron is minus 51 on the year.
I thought that was a joke when one of you guys put that in there, bro. That's crazy.
Yeah, that stat blew my mind when I saw it too.
Minus 51. And I think that they should be trading Anthony Davis yesterday, to be honest. And you want to talk about selling high on Lauri Markkanen? I think that they should be like there should have been a Black Friday sale on Anthony Davis. Like
I think you could still get a lot for Anthony Davis.
They definitely can.
Yeah. The way he's been playing this year too, I mean, he's been killing.
There are multiple contenders in the league who would offer packages for Davis, I think.
Absolutely.
I think that the Pelicans would be one of those teams, to be honest. I think that you could do like a Valanciunas. Imagine if they had Zion and AD and Ingram as your front line. Like, it's pretty hard to go. They're a team. I think that the Bucks would call and offer Holiday and Middleton and just be like, hey, we'll take AD and Jan. Like, I think that there would be crazy trade offers that you wouldn't think about, because if you pair him with a guy like that, or with guys with size like that can help him defensively, he might be the best offensive player in the league. We just don't know it because he's had to anchor the Lakers defense for the last 4 years.
Chicago, send Levine and Patrick Williams to the Lakers.
Get rid of Vucevic. Put Vucevic in there.
Honestly, I would do Vuce. I would try to keep Levine and send everybody else. Like Vuce, DeRozan.
I doubt the Lakers would do it without Levine. If they're sending AD, you do a Vuce, Levine, and a few picks, Lakers would probably take that.
I was going to say DeRozan and AD would be nasty too.
Yeah.
DeRozan and AD would be nasty. I do think that is another situation I'm monitoring, is I think the Levine trade is sooner than later.
Really?
Sooner than later. They're done, man. We talked about it last year, I think, a couple times. Just DeRozan aging. Vucevic couldn't play defense even last year, and it's even worse this year. Like, it's not.
He couldn't play defense in Orlando.
No, he couldn't play defense.
Never play defense.
The trade of all trades, the one that we saw rumored, me and Jake kind of shared our opinions on Twitter already. Steve, I'm curious. AD for Rob Will. Are you doing that if you're the Boston Celtics?
I mean,
it's got to be a package.
It's a package. It's not AD for Rob Will. It's a lot of picks. It's probably a couple depth guys. My biggest thing why I wouldn't, if I'm the Celtics, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Yes,
you're 17-4. Your offense has been historically good this year, and you're getting one of the best defenders in the NBA back. In a little bit of time. So, yeah, you could maybe make a big splash, package stuff together, but the Celtics have depth. They have the star power. They have the offense. They have the defense. They have the coaching, it looks like. Don't change anything. Only change something if you need to, right? And I know you're the Celtics fan, Dunny, so I guess you can touch on this more than me, but from what I've watched from the Celtics this year, I don't really see any glaring weakness. So why switch anything up? Just keep rolling with what you got. Maybe if it gets closer to the deadline and you need to do something, make a splash, whatever. But right now, Dunny, I mean, you're sitting back, you're kicking your feet up, and you're like, all right, are we going to win by 30 or 40 tonight? That's the mindset of a Celtics fan right now. So why switch any of that up?
I think you win by 50 or 60 if you add Anthony Davis to the Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Anthony Davis together would be unstoppable. unstoppable.
I agree, but they're going to have to give up a ton. They'll lose some depth, and if Anthony Davis gets hurt, which he has
That's
past
true.
few seasons, then it's kind of like, why'd you switch up a team that was 17-4 and averaging?
I would say right now would not be the best time to make this deal to be discussed. But I just think if that's on the we know, first of all, we know how much Brad was enamored with AD when the Celtics wanted AD as bad as anybody else in the world. It was
he also said he didn't want to play in Boston too. So.
He did. Well, trade, I do what you got to do. That's Brad.
I think he'd take Boston over LA at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
You gave him the
Boston now. You're
Turns out I like the cold. Yeah. No,
but go ahead.
No, I was that last point Steve made is kind of it for me because obviously I could see it. Like I understand. Basically, I think we win the championship this year if we have AD. But the thing is, we already have a pretty good chance, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And the last thing Steve said, it's like AD gets hurt. Obviously, Rob Will also gets hurt. Like, we're waiting for him to come back to injury. So if it was like a 1-1, it's a no-brainer, but that wouldn't be the case. Steve brought up the depth. Right now, we're waiting for Rob to come back. The reason we're able to succeed is because of our depth. Mm-hmm. If we trade that depth for Anthony Davis, he goes out, we have a different problem. So that's just kind of where I'm at. I think I'm with you, Jake. Like, it looks like the Lakers first, the Lakers title run that they had in the bubble. Like, it'd probably be like, holy shit, who is this group?
And it's LeBron James.
Oh yeah, it would be better. I mean, like, you have obviously Tatum and Brown. Neither of them are playing at the level that LeBron was at. Well, Tatum is playing at that level.
Oh,
Tatum is playing at that level.
Yeah,
he is.
No,
playing
he
at
is
that
right
level.
now. He is. Yeah, like, he legitimately. There's nobody else.
I forgot I could say shit like that. Like that.
You can actually say it now, and it's fine. Yeah. No, like, he is legit. Like, if there's anybody that is LeBron James from 2011 in the NBA right now, it's Jason Tatum. I don't.
Luka Doncic. I'm sorry.
Listen.
That's my bad.
When Luka can make it a 15,
Luka would have sounded better.
That's when we can. That's when we can talk about that. Offensively, yes.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, I'm holding off on the Rob Will AD trade right now, but Lakers, man,
that's fine.
And I was gonna put this in the news. Pat Bev, bro, he got suspended. It's not really news anymore, but like, as bad as he's played, like, numbers wise, he's the only heart this fucking team has. Yeah. He was willing to stick up for Austin Reeves. Who the hell else on this roster was sticking up for Austin Reeves, man?
They made a great point that they didn't need the problem with Pat Bev on that roster is they didn't need like Timberwolves Pat Bev, like, trying to galvanize the squad. They needed like edgy Pat. And I think that's what this is turning to, is they need edgy, like, annoying ass Pat Bev. They don't need him like he doesn't. LeBron and Russ don't need a pep talk from Pat Bev, which is hilarious. It's hilarious to see those early videos of him hyping him up, like getting in the huddle on the side and everything. It's like, imagine just imagine you are in this scenario of Russell Westbrook, and we've all had guys like Pat Bev on all of our teams in the past and everything, and just hearing that in your head, like, yeah, I could see it. I see where they're coming from.
So we'll see, man. Lakers right now, the check-in is no heart for the Lakers. We'll throw this guy into the players we're watching, and we'll just end with, talking about an assortment of guys who are fucking incredible this year and really getting no love. Jaren Jackson, I know we all like this guy. It's been tough because he just hasn't been on the court much.
He's been so good since he's been back. He's been so good since he's been back.
Yeah. The thing that stuck out to me, and I put it in here, his last 5 games, he's had 16 blocks. And 2 of those games were 5 block games. He's had 2 games in his last 5 where he's had 5 blocks in each game. I mean, I put this here too. I know we just talked about Rob Williams, but like, in my eyes, Jaren Jackson like does similar things and has a more well-rounded offensive game than Robert Williams. It just doesn't really get the same media attention. I don't know if you guys feel that way, or if it's just because I see more Rob stuff because I'm a Celtics fan, but I feel like they're both those guys were in the Defensive Player of the Year discussion all year last year.
he just gets overshadowed by Ja. That's really it. Jaren Jackson, last 4 games, he's had over 20 points in all 4 of them. But, you know, Ja probably scores 30, so everyone's talking about Ja. But Jaren Jackson is, I mean, he's very good offensively, too. He can stretch the floor. And the big difference between him and Rob is Rob, yes, great defender, shot blocker, you name it, him, Jaren Jackson, go toe for that. But offensively, Jaren Jackson will make open shots. He will make the wide open threes. He will take those type of shots. And Jaren Jackson, I just can't wait, guys, because I've always been a huge Jaren Jackson fan. I think he's a great player, super underrated. You know, I have Ja as one of my sleeper picks for MVP this year, and now it looks like it's a Tatum versus Luka 2-man battle. But we know what Ja's capable of. And of course, when Jackson comes back, Desmond Bane gets hurt. And I know we talked about him a couple of weeks ago, but Desmond Bane's a guy who's averaging like 25 a night, you know, 5 assists, 5 boards. When we see this core healthy together, Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson, watch out, rest of the league, because Jaren Jackson looks fully healthy again, good to go. Desmond Bane somehow looks like he took another leap in year 3, and Ja Morant's Ja Morant. And they're also very young too, and they're just gonna keep playing together, keep getting better together. So I'm very excited to see this. I was a little worried because I thought Jackson was gonna be out till mid-December when it was first, you know, kind of reported in the offseason. But he looks 100%. He looks all the way back, and that's a great sign for the Grizzlies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. JJJ back for the Grizz is a good thing. You mentioned it. It sucks like the Desmond Bane and him kind of just flip-flopped in and out of the roster, but obviously, you know, Bane's not going to be out for long. We talked about that when he first got injured. So Grizzlies still on the watch, still doing great. Who else are you guys? Jake, pick someone off this list of guys here.
Well, we talked about marketing a little bit, but tonight this is the game I've been waiting all season for this game.
I know which game you're talking about. The League Pass game of the year.
Yes. The Indiana Pacers traveling to the Sacramento to take on the Kings.
The beam team.
Tyrese Halliburton return game going in there, and it's Halliburton and Fox are going to be the headliners. Ben Mathurin obviously been playing outstanding. We've talked about him at length, but it's about these two guys who have been outstanding after they got separated from each other. And honestly, one of the biggest win-win trades I think we've had in a while. Sabonis has been amazing for the Kings. They look like a legit team. But yeah, Stevie, I knew you'd be locked into this one too. I'm literally looking forward to it so much to turn that on League Pass tonight.
I'm watching this entire game. I can't wait for it. Tyrese Halliburton has been unconscious lately this year. Just his last 5 games, just the assists, 14, 14, 14, 11, 15. And he's averaging around 20 points a game this year. Jeez, and I was like, you know what? It was a huge mistake. We all said, why are the Kings trading away Tyrese Halliburton? But you know what? Sometimes you got to give up something you want to get something in return that you want. And if the season ended today, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but the season ended today, both the Indiana Pacers and the Sacramento Kings are in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
And they both of them, maybe the Pacers more than the Kings, but they both have promising futures. And it's actually kind of crazy too with the Pacers being 12-8. I did not realize that. Like when you guys were like, power rankings, and I was like, the Pacers are 12-8.
Yeah, it's real. Ben Mathurin could win Rookie of the Year and Sixth Man of the Year at this point. Very, very should be the favorite.
All by you,
both
Stevie.
Dude, he's a walking bucket, man. I watched it because Arizona was like my late night college basketball team from last year, so I watched Mathurin play almost every single night. He is. I expect him to be good this year, but man, he is just a walking bucket. Just start him, Pacers. I hate this so much where it's like, oh yeah, he's our 6th man, and then he comes off the bench and plays 30 minutes. It's like just start him. Because half the time I watch a Pacers
It won't
game.
happen until February with
I know.
Carlisle.
And that's the thing. The Pacers will be down 24 to like 10 midway through the first quarter. I'm like, what's going on? And then I check end of first quarter and it's like 32-31. Ben Mathurin has 14 points off the bench. It's like, just start him. Don't put yourself in that hole. But yeah, he's really impressed me this year. I've always loved Ben Mathurin. He's one of my favorite rookies coming out of this draft class. And I mean, the Indiana Pacers having Halliburton and Mathurin going forward,
dude,
that guard combo. Oh.
He put LeBron's brain in a pretzel the other night.
Dude.
That shit he said at the beginning of the year where he was like, I want LeBron to prove that he's better than me this season because he doesn't think, which I actually like when any athlete says that they just believe that they're the best because it's like those are usually the best guys.
You have to, yes.
Because you gotta have that mindset. You have to.
And Draymond's kind of corny when he talks about it, but it's true when he says it. Like he's like, what are you doing here if you don't believe that? If you don't believe you're the best defender or whatever. Anyway, so he says that. Then he kind of backtracks it before the game when he starts getting all the questions about it. He's like, no, listen, like I think LeBron's the GOAT. He was like, that's just kind of my mentality. And then he outscores LeBron and they win in a 17-point comeback.
Yep.
Like, he has LeBron's mind in a pretzel.
Outscored him while he was like guarding LeBron too.
Yeah.
Yep. Like LeBron was guarding him. He was guarding LeBron. He outscored him. I think he had one more rebound. And it was like, oh, that's got to make you feel good too. If you're Ben Mathurin, right? After saying all that, and then you play one of your best games of the year against LeBron James.
And they were on a back-to-back. Like that's the thing too. They were the team that was disadvantaged. They usually second half back-to-backs. Oh yeah, we're gonna end up losing by 18 or whatever. No,
17-point comeback.
Jesus, man.
Yeah, they're fun to watch. The Pacers are fun to watch again.
Well, like you said, Steve, both these teams, it's crazy how they're both like above average and pretty freaking good in their respective conferences.
Kings are so much fun, dude.
As we wrap up here, I just wanted to mention Jalen Brunson and Porzingis, both
former Mavs,
both crushing, dude. Like
now they couldn't do anything about Brunson. They couldn't do anything about Brunson, and Dinwiddie is playing amazing.
Dinwiddie's been good.
I think Porzingis, it's just like, dude, sometimes you just need to change your scenery. I just don't think he meshed with Porzingis or Luka, and it could be as simple as that, but it is kind of wild. Porzingis, 24 points per game, 2 blocks per game, 40% from 3 over his last 10 games.
That's a fun-ass team in Washington, man. I've had so much fun watching the Wizards this year.
Kuzma's a 1 in Washington, and it's just like working.
Yeah, and Brunson too. That was kind of one of the more like big contracts I was skeptical of in the offseason. I was like, yeah, he was kind of, the B option to Luka. Like I didn't think he'd be able to kind of run the offense on his own. He's been the next best player this year.
The exact opposite of what we thought.
And that's
like, RJ is going to take over.
Yeah.
No, Brunson's
Jalen Brunson.
Over.
Bright lights in New York. It's like, oh, he got paid all this money, so much pressure. Does not matter. And Brunson's a guy I can always root for, even back in the Villanova days. He's just a smaller guy, but he plays like he's a 6'6" point guard. And that's what I love about Jalen Brunson. Like he's, for short kings everywhere. This guy, he's a smaller guy, but he plays like he's 6'6". He plays physical. He doesn't care who's guarding him. He'll still cross you over and make a shot. And I mean, props to Brunson. I did not expect to see this quickly in New York, and he's really surprised me. Out of the list we have here, obviously we talked about Laurie. That was probably the most surprising. The others, guys I was kind of high on. Brunson just, he blew my expectations out of the water this year. I thought it was going to be almost not a disaster, but kind of a disappointment for the Knicks for the money they paid him. It's been the opposite of that. He's basically been their team.
Yeah. All right. Those are the players we've been watching. You guys should too. I think that'll do it for the show, right?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do it.
Happy to be back.
Happy to be back. Basketball in full swing. It's great times. So follow us at Happy Hour Hoops 1. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. For Dunny, Steve, myself, Jake, Micah. Have a great night, folks. And go watch Kings Pacers at 10 o'clock Eastern.
Let's go. I can't wait, baby.